at Arrowhead Provincial Park. It's the middle of July, and we've been camping at the Lumbee Campground, Site 125.
It's a 4-night stay. Middle of July, it's been pretty hot, pretty dry, kind of buggy.
Dry in the sense of no rain, but very humid, except for today, which is beautiful. So this park is quite good for rentals. You can rent canoes, kayaks, paddle boards. There's plenty there. And we did in fact rent a canoe this morning and took a paddle around the lake. You might think, looking at the map, that you might be able to paddle up the river that's there, but apparently it's too shallow this time of year to really have a good paddle without dragging the canoe. But we had a lovely morning.
So the park gate isn't anymore. It's gone permitless, and anything that you need to do, you do at the visitor center, which is also where the park store is. They have a nice little event space where there's some discovery programs, and I expect in the winter, when you can come to Arrowhead and do cross-country skiing, that's probably where they do their après-ski. Mm-hmm. So the park store is pretty good, although they are leaving an ungodly amount of money on the table by not restocking the ice cream chest quickly.
It's not the sort of park store where you would pick up groceries, but they are well stocked with souvenirs and that sort of thing.
Ontario Park swag. There are some snack foods. You can get ice cream novelties, some soft drinks. You can get a coffee there. Mm-hmm. Groceries, you have to make the big 10-minute drive into Huntsville.
Yeah, and in Huntsville, there are lots of options. It's a sizable town. Firewood and ice are also at the visitor center. We did buy firewood yesterday, just before a fire ban was imposed due to local wildfire activity.
So we didn't get to have a campfire. So one of the things that we've noticed about Arrowhead is they're doing some pretty heavy investing in upgrading the park. Mm-hmm. The comfort station in Lumbee, where we're staying, is brand new, and it's more modern than any comfort station we've seen in any provincial park. So they have some of the modern features like individual showers, but they also have individual gender-neutral bathrooms. They have laundry facilities, but they're not open yet. I think it's that new.
Mm-hmm. Something about Lumbee Campground and other campgrounds in the park, it seems like they have been recently electrified. So there are a lot of electrical sites in this park now. There's also another new comfort station going in the East River Campground. This is an additional comfort station to the one they already had, which it really needs there.
East River is a very, very long campground from one end to the other. Mm-hmm. There's a comfort station right up at the road end, and other than that, just kaibos on all of the many branches that they have. Yeah,
and we actually clocked the distance from the furthest campsite to the old comfort station was 1.2 kilometers. So that would be a heck of a walk.
Plan ahead.
It will be better now with the new one, though still long.
Something else that is interesting in this park, they have kaibos. Some of the kaibos are also brand new. Pit toilet, many of them, but shiny new building. Usually no sink.
Also no smell, like none, which is amazing.
But something else that we've noticed is in many of the campgrounds, either all or at least a proportion of the kaibos are fully plumbed. So dump and fill is actually just by the entrance to the East River Campground, and which is nice because that means that it's also very handy to one of the comfort stations that's there. Pretty deluxe as fill and dump goes. The garbage and recycling also in the same spot. There are 2 lanes, plus one of the lanes is wide enough that you could use it as a bypass. Mm-hmm. So you've got 2 lanes plus a bypass to dump, and then 2 lanes plus a bypass to fill. It looked like the dump stations are threaded. The fill stations, I don't think they are. Although there's a third fill, which is also nearby across the road from the comfort station.
Just kind of on its own.
Just on its own. Mm-hmm. And that one for sure is threaded.
So overall, the condition of the park is quite good. You do have to be careful on the roads, as in all provincial parks. The roads are fine, but there are definite places where there's dips to watch out for.
Especially when the trailer's on.
Yes. The cell service in this park is very often on, so you definitely would not come to this park and count on doing any work. We've had pretty much no internet at our site. There are spots in the park where you can pick up the internet. We would generally drive to those spots.
At the entrance to the park, they actually have a little parking area there with parking spots painted on the pavement, expecting that people are going to be driving there. It's right up beside Highway 11, so there's lots of cell signal there. But in the campgrounds, very little. You'll get a text message now and then. You'll get a phone call, perhaps, depending on where you're standing and which way you're looking. But very little by way of internet.
The other thing to note is that at the visitor center they offer free Wi-Fi, but we were unable to connect to that Wi-Fi, so don't depend on that either.
There were some people using it, it seems.
Yeah.
But maybe there's a limit to how many of those can be active at one time.
Yeah. Now in the park there are quite a few hiking trails. We did get up early the first morning, early because the rest of the day was going to be extremely hot. So we went for an early morning hike, and it was very nice. We went on the Lookout Trail. However, the bugs were bad enough that we very quickly got out our bug nets, and even with the bug nets, it was a lot. And we were, by the end of that hike, which took us about 45 minutes, it's in the book as an hour, it took us 45, we were done. So we haven't done any more trail hiking in the park. That put us off. We have been walking along the roads, and it's of course very pleasant to walk along the roads in a provincial park.
We've walked along a couple of small segments of some of the other trails, just moving from one campground to another, or walking down to the visitor center, that sort of thing, along the beaches and so forth. So we got a sense. I think there are 5 or 6 trails in the park, depending on whether you count the Prospect Trail as a trail. I think it's just a little bit of a way to walk along the road without actually walking on the road. The trails, I would say, are largely set up for cross-country skiing. They're quite wide. Some of them have pretty bad tire ruts. We don't know what all the trails look like, of course, because we tried the one and just got chased out by the bugs. But any of the other ones that we've been on are largely the same. So they're pretty flat, pretty wide, pretty unobstructed, certainly muddy bits, walking through nice forest, but it doesn't have the same sort of feel as trails in a lot of other parks where it's a walk in the forest type of trail. There's certainly a lot of up and down.
It doesn't have that feel?
It does, not to me.
I think that it's because of the bug.
No, it's
because the trail is wide and
not
kind of kept looking.
Yeah.
Like very man-made looking.
Yeah.
We rented a canoe this morning and went for a morning paddle, and it was very nice. There wasn't a chance. We were advised not to take it up the river, so because of the low water levels. So we took it around the lake, and for a trip around the lake sort of canoe trip, it was lovely. We did see different kinds of birds, a flock of geese on the water, loons, seagulls.
And a few turtles on a stump.
Yes.
It's a big park, and it's getting near to peak season, so there's a lot going on in terms of activities, discovery, and that kind of thing. Just about every day there's something going on at the visitor center. We took in something that was put on by Science North. It was a bit of a kind of a science show for kids. That was fun.
We're going to be going to a drop-in tonight, which is also put on by Science North. So, there are definite lots of activities to do in a park, especially this size park.
There are several beaches. I would say none of them are spectacular. There are no Lake Erie or Lake Superior beaches in this park, but there's some nice little parks. There's a couple of them are mostly grassy and surprisingly unfull of goose poop. Some small sandy beaches. Arrowhead Lake is not a bad lake. You had a good swim.
I did. I went for a nice swim. I kind of swam across one end of the lake from one beach to another. The water's very clear, a comfortable temperature. It is a tea lake, so the water has that brownish tinge to it, but it is clear and clean.
We did get into Huntsville. There is a nice little craft brewery there called Canvas Brewery, and we had a flight there, picked up some things that we'll take home and sample with the kids.
Another fun activity, when we first pulled into the park, I managed to get a bug bite, which subsequently got infected. So searching for a walking clinic was in order. And so FYI, the closest walking clinic is in fact in Bracebridge. There's an emergency room in the hospital in Huntsville, but of course it's as busy as an emergency room. So the walking clinic was pretty good though.
Yeah. So we are in Lumbee on site 125, which is a pretty darn nice site.
Yeah.
And there are several sites, I would say, in Lumbee that are pretty good. The privacy in the park generally is above average. So the sites are well spread apart. So you've got a nice bit of greenery between you and your next door neighbor.
Mm-hmm. And this site is nice because it doesn't back onto any other sites. So we do feel quite private here. We can see neighbors, but we're by no means on top of each other.
We've had a look at some of the other campgrounds. We took a little tour around the Row campground, which is an interesting kind of layout. We stayed in Row once years and years and years ago when the kids were small. So there are some nice sites there. I would say, generally speaking, they struck me as being a little smaller, but there were a couple that we liked. I'll throw a couple of pictures up. I would say, generally speaking, it's not too hard to find a pretty nice site in this park. You should be a little careful about pad slope because it is a hilly park, and the site that we are on is actually quite flat. The ground cover is all sand. It's really good. I wouldn't worry about rain. We haven't had a drop, but I wouldn't worry about rain on this site. Some other sites, not as much, but generally speaking, I don't think it's too hard. Have a little look at the pad slope, double check the size. In the East River campground, we noted that many of the sites are smaller than certainly what we're on here. And also, even with them building a new comfort station,
very secluded.
It's a long way from anything, so get ready for a lot of walking if you stay in East River.
And including a long way from the beach. Whereas from here, I walked to the beach. It's a comfortable walk, 10 minutes max.
Right. It's been a very hot week. It's been a week where Toronto had the dubious distinction of having the worst air quality in the world. Apparently there's some wildfire smoke that was certainly evident here. It's cleared off a little bit. You might be able to hear in the audio that there's a bit of breeze in the trees. The first couple of days there was no breeze at all. It's very hot, very humid, and pretty buggy. And oddly, different bugs coming at different times of the day.
Which is not to say that there aren't times we also comfortably sit outside as well and not be bothered by bugs. So it comes in droves.
But the Thermocell has been with us, and we've been keeping it charged every night because there are times, there it is, good old James Bond. One of the things that we thought about is we want to walk on these other trails. They seem like they'd be nice trails, but perhaps in September or later in August.
Yeah, and apparently this park has a lot of the trees are sugar maples, which are going to be a beautiful color in the autumn as well. So I see this as a future goal to come here in the autumn, and it would be a great park at that time of year.
And in fact, people winter camp here. They have some roofed accommodations.
So there you go. There's Arrowhead Provincial Park, our impression.